A friend of mine works at the customer service department, and I asked him, what does it mean to work at customer service? So he said that it basically means that I smile while I ruin your life. Like,
All right. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our seventh video cast. I'm Wolfi, and with me is Elad. So we are both certified LeSS trainers, and for this episode, we are back to our standard format: 2 questions and 5 minutes time box for each. Today's topic is one of the 10 LeSS principles: customer-centric.
customer-centric. Okay, so in LeSS, we understand that what does it mean, customer-centric, right? It's just an empty statement without explaining what's behind it. So the idea is to identify the value and waste in the eyes of the paying customer, and then to reduce the waste as much as you can, and then to increase the value as much as you can. And how do we do it? By focusing on cycle time and increasing the feedback loop and making sure we get more data that we can use then to understand the customer better, and then be able to really create as much value as we can. So being customer centric, and we say that not only to the level of the organization's manager, we are talking about each and every individual contributor in the system being customer centric.
Okay, so we'll have a question to get us started. Let's start the clock.
Ooh.
So most managers and organizations would say that they are, of course, customer-centric. The question is, are they? And if not, why are they having this illusion?
Yes, it's a great question, because it's so common. Many organizations really see themselves as customer-centric. I bet you've seen that as well. Like, most managers would also say that they are very effective as managers, and most organizations would say that we know what we are doing, right? They are not. They don't know. They are not really super effective. Now, I'm not saying that in a judgmental kind of perspective, right? I'm trying to help them improve. And the sad news, managers and organizations, listen carefully, please. Hanging a poster on the wall saying that customers matters most and putting a nice picture of a winner with a medal does not make you customer centric.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Sorry. So really, based on my experience, let's be serious for a little while. Most organizations are actually choosing to remain trapped in this illusion of being awesome. Now, I'm sure they are awesome as people, really. I love people and I appreciate people, and I'm sure that as individuals, they are amazing. However, as an organization, they are not. And I think any organization should see itself as not awesome at any given point in time, because there's always more room for growth and improvement, right? Now, if I'm trapped in that illusion, that helps me ignore the problem, right? Denial is a very common way of dealing with something bad happening. We just completely disregard it. So in that sense, most organizations really are in fooling themselves by saying that they are customer centric. Now, I could offer some help, right? If you are an organization and you want to learn or validate or check whether you are indeed customer centric as much as you think you are, you could ask questions, try and figure out, in my organization, like, if I visit a daily meeting, will I hear discussions about the customer? Will the customer be mentioned at all? I could also do that during planning and backlog refinement and review. If I go to a sprint review, will I see customer representatives, or will it be only a team and a PO, right? Do our engineers and team members, do they understand what the customers need? Why are we building this feature, right? What value how does the customer make money from that, or get any kind of benefit from that? And if those discussions are not there, it basically means that we are not customer-centric because we are focusing on the engineering side only, and just forgetting about the fact that we are here to create value. And software is probably the cheapest way of doing that. This is why we chose software as the customer. The customer chose a software development org as a solution to their problem. It's probably because it's the most cost-effective way of dealing with that problem. Right. Now, you asked about why our organization doing that. So I mentioned the fact that people, which organizations are built on top of, right? We need people in organizations. People are often try to avoid dealing with who they are. It's about courage. It's about being mature, okay? It's about being able to look in the mirror and see yourself for who you really are. I'm not saying I'm the world's smartest agile coach, even though I could be, but there's always room for improvement. That's my basic point of view. I'm always asking, what could I do better? I'm not even asking whether I'm good enough or not. It's just, I am who I am, but I want to be better. This applies also to being customer-centric, right? Now, courage, and I think that maybe is if we boil it down, and I don't have enough time, I think courage is the main factor. I'm seeing way too many organizations and managers who are just not brave enough to wake up from that illusion and say, this is how we want things to be done, and be very strict about it. So we want to be customer-centric. Time. So Wolfi, my question to you is, I'm hearing from many, many people that I meet, even from friends, the statement, engineers are not good at dealing with people. They are just not fit for dealing with the customer. And what I would like to know is, what do you think about this statement? And if you are me, how would you respond?
Well, yes, so I have heard this a few times, and I think that this is mostly out of some kind of fear or status quo of somebody's position. And I don't think this is grounded in some facts, but rather on what I would call inappropriate or unfit mental models for the situation. So of course, there might be some individuals who are not good, fit for communicating with customers. Maybe they never will be. And then there might be those who are not interested in talking to customers, even after some coaching and trying to get this to work. So I would say those are the minority, and I would really like to focus here on the majority of the cases, which means that there is actually a really big potential upside. So first of all, I think that your statement as such is what I would say, a misconception. Yeah? So very often those managers who have this perception, they do not see the value workers as who they are. Meaning they produce the value. So they might not be getting that well along with engineers in a practical level. So I think this comes from some kind of hierarchies in the organization which are there in place, so strong hierarchies basically. And following this logic, I would assume that this hierarchy pattern is also projected to the engineer talking to the manager, the customer relationship. So that it would be also seen there. And however, this is not what we want. So we do not want engineers talking to managers at the customer side, because typically those managers are not the users or stakeholders of the system. So this means they cannot provide valuable input or clarify requirements or provide meaningful feedback to the developers. So instead of this, if I look at, for example, two major LeSS events, so one of all the product backlog refinement and then the sprint review. So in the product backlog refinement, we actually want that the developers and the stakeholders or users dive really into the requirement. They try to understand them, elaborate those, and create examples, which they can later on use for the verification. they find acceptance criteria, and they slice them small enough so we can every sprint create value what the customer stakeholder can give feedback to. And so in the sprint review, then we have this opportunity to give first-hand feedback. So that is, I think, the key message, so that the user really of the system can give first-hand feedback without having middlemen in between who would only otherwise blur or hinder the communication. So we all know the Chinese whisper principle, and I have seen this so often. So that's why we would rather have them, the users and the developers, talking, because they talk the same language. So they're on the same level. They are like equals, and they know what they are talking about without all the kind of maybe politeness which doesn't need to be in there. Yeah? I put it careful like this. But then going even a step further, so not just limiting this now to these 2 events, but also thinking this, that, for example, during the sprint, a developer or team has more needs for clarification. They would just call the counterpart, have a quick session, and they discuss what needs to be clarified. So we don't need to have formal meetings or so. That would be an environment, actually, what we would like to see in this customer-centric setup. And naturally, I would say there's a learning curve, and for both sides. So both sides have to learn, not just the developers, but also the customers, users, stakeholders. They have to learn how to talk to engineers in this way. For some people, it will be easier. For others, it might be harder. But nevertheless, I think that these skills can be learned. I have seen this happening. The prerequisites are that you have an open mind and the willingness to collaborate, so that you can together achieve those common goals. And if you do this with some help of coaching, then you really get things going. So some insights to your answer. Yeah, I really like the poster analogy. I have seen this with other topics, like Go See was another thing. So now we have overall Go See poster. So I think that was really a big thing. And yes, I think also this, that the idea of continuous improvement, it is, people say they do, but then they really don't mean it very often. So I see a lack, because it means that me too, I also need to improve. And I have seen some kind of lack of willingness to do that one. Then I also think in this way that many organizations I have seen, they don't want to hear the truth. So that was a good point. So this means they will fall into a state of denial. Yes, I think that was a clear thing. And then, of course, your last point, the courage. And so here I was wondering that don't they have a need for this? So I would like to understand more about the needs of organization. Don't you need to be customer-centric? Obviously not. Obviously, the current level, what you are working on, is good enough for you to survive in business. The question is that if your competition will become truly customer-centric, in the sense we are talking about here, will they outperform the others because they will have faster learning, they will do it much more effectively in a way that they get the requirements right in the beginning and don't have to do and redo and overdo stuff, you know? So that would be something I'm still wondering. What are the needs of these companies who are not having the courage? So,
thank you. While you were talking about the insights, I remembered I have a customer, never mind the name, one of their values, they have, like I told you, company values and stuff. And one of their values is, and they are, first of all, amazing company, okay? Mm-hmm. One of their values is, we are not interested in happy customers. And then the second line, we are looking for raving fans. And like this acknowledgement of, we don't want just what everybody says, happy customer, what are the needs, going back to the needs. No, we want people who really want to use our product. Yeah. And that also has a lot of side effects, because if people want to use our product and they are fans, they can cope with lots of stuff and not become unhappy because of that.
That is true, yes.
They are an amazing company, really. So thank you for that. And let me share some insights, or something that really clicked when you spoke, was this projection of relationship between managers and employees and or team members and customers. And I think maybe the insight that I had while you were speaking is that managers have this mental model that since this is how our engineers talk to us, this is our relationship, they may really behave like that with the customers. And then what I thought is, wait, but this very engineer actually persuaded you into hiring him or her. So they know how to be a salesperson.
Yes.
So that's something that I thought that came to my mind while you were speaking. That very engineer just some time ago was at the seat of you, trying to persuade you to buy them.
Yes.
So thank you for your answer.
Yes.
It was your point, right? Thank you all for so much for really coming. I don't know, I'm having fun in those sessions, and I'm also learning and getting insight. So if you guys find that valuable, that's even more awesome. And really, we invite you to post some comments, tell us what you think, share it, all of those kinds of social media stuff. And even if you have suggestions for us, you can reach out either via comments or in any other way. Yes, there will be a slide with our contact details eventually. Thank you very, very much, Wolfi.
Thank you, Elad.
Great.
Yes,
And
great insight. Yes, see you
next
then.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I sent my message. I think it was okay.
Yes.
We'll see what the viewers have to say. Comments.